I'll make sure to pull it up on my end as well once it's there.
Okay. Hey, we are live and we got another podcast episode for you guys. And we got a Twitch FIFA streamer who does both Pro Clubs and Ultimate Team and lately has been streaming Fall Guys. Ggskfifa. How you doing?
Hey, good, good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me, by the
I'm
way.
good. Yeah, thanks for coming through.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, I hope we have a good time, have a good conversation, and yeah, how's the streams been lately?
They've been great, and I think it's sort of like an awkward time period for FIFA because the game usually dies out the
Mm-hmm.
last maybe like 2 to 3 months of the game. And I think if EA stick to the schedule, then we should have a new game in September or October around
Mm-hmm.
that time. So I've always like found I've been playing FIFA for a few years now, so I've always found it dies off around like May. After Team of this season ends, everyone just kind of takes a break from the game. But I'm
Right.
still having fun. I've like you said, I've been trying to do a little more of other games as well. So I've tried some Fall Guys, just whatever I can to play with the community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, what do you think of FIFA right now? Do you still play it? Is it dead to you?
That's a good question. See, it's interesting because with FIFA, I have to be careful because I play competitively as well. And I think there's a tournament for me that I have to be ready for at the end of July, so this month. And if I take it too long of a break, then I'm gonna be very rusty, and it's gonna take me time to get into it. So that's one thing I have to keep in mind is it might be like for content creation wise, it might be not as alive as it used to be. But in terms of like competitiveness, I still have to kind of play to maintain that level of where I should be.
Mm-hmm. So you have a tournament coming up. How soon?
They haven't like told us the date, but it's usually every couple months. I did one I think it was actually I think it was in the beginning of June.
Mm-hmm.
So they try to do one every like month, every couple months, depending on when they can do it.
So is the next one coming up Ultimate Team?
Yes, yes, it's
Okay.
Ultimate Team. Oh, the first one that I did was kickoff, like kind of like seasons team, the regular like clubs. Then since then, for like a couple years, they've been doing Ultimate Team.
Okay. And what's the tournament called that
The tournament is usually hosted by ECL Entertainment, which is like a platform for all the female FIFA players.
uh-huh.
So that's what they host. They only host like female only
Got it.
tournaments, and they host them through Rush GG, so they can kind of like give compensation to the winners and all that good stuff.
What's the prize for this tournament coming up?
Um, so it's interesting because the I think the most that EA allow like third party organizations and stuff like that to give away in tournaments is
Mm-hmm.
1900. So people are not allowed to give more than 1900, which is what they usually give.
Mm-hmm.
1900 US dollars, I believe. Or it might be actually in UK pounds. I'm not exactly sure, but I know the threshold for the USA, if a USA player were to win, it would be $1,900.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I've heard of that organization, ECO, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that organization and how you got into it.
Yeah, for sure. So I met the guys about I would say maybe like a year and a half now. I've been working with them. I'm one of their like brand ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked. They reached out to me, and their goal is lovely, and it aligns with mine as well, just to push the female scene, especially in FIFA as well, because there's
Mm-hmm.
not that many of us, and even if there are, a few of us, we're still not enough. I think we need more people, more girls playing football, and more girls playing FIFA. So I love that message, and I love that mission, and I decided to join and start working with them.
Mm-hmm. Is ECL just for like FIFA or is that for like general gaming?
Currently it's for FIFA. I don't know if they have future plans on adding other games. But it's for now. It's a FIFA like female FIFA players only platform.
Got it. And do you guys just host like just tournaments, like virtual tournaments or any type of events?
Yeah, they're usually virtual tournaments.
Okay.
Unless maybe in the future, I don't know if it's possible, but it would be amazing if we can like go and play in a specific like an esports center or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be definitely fun, but I don't know if that's possible, especially with like the COVID and travel restrictions and timing and schedules and all that. But for now, yeah, it's usually always hosted virtually through Rush.gg, and the participants kind of just stream and to stream their games, and we have someone to host it,
Mm-hmm.
commentators, all that good stuff.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. Do you is it a pretty tight knit community with all the female FIFA streamers?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so because I think most of us have like a similar goal in mind. We want to push the female game forward, and both as a like a content creator and a competitive player. I think for me, that's like one of the most important things. Honestly, is just to push that message forward and show people that girls can do it in gaming and especially in FIFA as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I wonder what the ratio is. Because I know
Yeah,
FIFA is like so much guy streamers,
yeah.
but I was
hmm
wondering like, what would you think is the percentage of like guy to girl
Hmm.
ratio in terms of FIFA
I would
streamers?
say because I think so far from what I've seen in like the communities I've been in, let's say maybe at least on Twitch, like when I'm live, for example,
Mm-hmm.
maybe let's say it's like maybe a total of like 100 streams or something like that up. I would say maybe like five of us are girls at the time, so it's a 5%, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And it's
Yeah.
sometimes it's less than that. Sometimes I'm live and I'm like the only female I see in like the whole category of FIFA. But you have to keep in mind I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
like the streams with the face cam on. So a lot of people just don't stream with the face cam, and you cannot really know their gender behind the gameplay. But if I'm going by the face cam and then the people I usually know, yeah, I would say it's about if we have a sample of 100, I would say it's 5%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Mm.
would say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We have Green and White Army in the chat. How's it going? Good to see you. Um, so then, how does it feel? How does it feel to actually let me ask you this. How did you get into FIFA and what made you want to start streaming?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I've always been a huge football fan. I grew up with football. My parents were really into football. My uncles and aunts, just basically my whole family was big advocate for football. We used to go to watch games, and we both like in stadium and online too. And I remember when I was a kid, I had like a like I had like a PlayStation 1, a Dreamcast. So one of the first games that I played was Pez, back when it was called Winning 11.
Mm-hmm.
I think now it's Pro Soccer Evolution. I'm not sure. I think it's transitioning to be called eFootball, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's still called Pez. But I played that pretty much since I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. I would just go on and play the game. And then I would say in 2013 or 14 or so, I decided to just get back into some sort of football game, and I went to Best Buy, and I was like, okay, I'm going to pick out a sports game, a football game here. And I was actually, funny enough, I was going to within mind of getting like Pez from Best Buy, and they didn't have Pez; they only had FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the story of how I started playing FIFA is because Best Buy did not have a Pez copy. But since then, I've been FIFA only. I have not played Pez in about 10 years.
Have you got every FIFA title since then?
Yes.
You have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So my first FIFA was technically like FIFA 10.
Okay.
But I like I have the disc. I really just never played it. I maybe
Mhm.
like I tried it a couple times and I stuck with Pez, you know. So like technically speaking, my first FIFA title was FIFA 10. But the first one that I consistently played, you know, from beginning to end was FIFA 14.
Mhm.
And that was like 2014, and up until now, I've purchased FIFA every year, and I plan on doing so for the next
Okay.
one.
Got it. We have Fubu in the chat. What's up, Fubu? How's it going?
Hey,
Um,
how's it going?
and so when did you start playing Ultimate Team then?
It's, so I actually started as like a pro club streamer, like a pro clubs only streamer.
Okay.
I would say like a couple years ago. I mean, it's an interesting timeline because as I mentioned earlier, I kind of started with like a PS4, so I had, you know, I would stream through the PS4. I would have like a PS4 camera, so it wasn't the best setup, the most professional setup. And then I think 4 months in or so, I started in July.
July of
Um,
what year?
2020, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, 2020. So
Mhm.
that's when I started with the PS4. And then I had my first tournament, my first the kickoff tournament. I think it was FIFA 20, and I ended up winning that. And then I used the money for that tournament to get my current PC.
Okay.
So it's interesting because when people like tell me, well, how long have you been streaming FIFA or how long have you been streaming in general? I say, well, I've kind of had like two phases. If you count the PS4 phase as streaming, then it would be almost 2 years now. And in a week, it should be in a couple of weeks, it'll be 2 years. But if we're only counting the PC streaming, then it would be uh, a year and a half, roughly a year and a half. So,
Mhm. So, um, after getting into like, actually, what made you want to get into Ultimate Team? Just for the fact of
yeah,
competing?
yeah. So in general, I what I would do is I would maybe get into Ultimate Team like a for like a couple months a year. I would kind of like build up my team, then I would get bored of it and go back into pro clubs.
Yeah. Okay.
um, but like over the last, I would say over the last year, especially, a lot of those tournaments that I have to play are all like Ultimate Team specific. So if I kind of not play Ultimate Team, then I'm at a disadvantage in terms of like the team and like knowing the meta
Yeah.
and just like the general competitive and like the esports scene of the game. So that's kind of why for this FIFA I've played I think the most Ultimate Team that I've done in the past 10 years or so. And it's
Mhm.
just because of that, like, you know, the fact that I need a I need a good team. I need a semi meta team so I can compete with my with the other players that I'm playing against.
Do you put money into your Ultimate Team?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't know. I know a lot of the people that I compete against do, but
Mhm.
I personally don't know.
Mhm. And then how do you usually do in those tournaments?
It's it's been I think I would say it's been rough because I would say first the first one that I did like for the first tournament that I did this FIFA, it didn't go well. I think I only won like one game, and then I think I got knocked out in like the next round.
Mhm.
Then I played a couple more and they kind of went like that. But this last one I had, uh, I got a coach um in April,
Mhm.
and then so I was coached a little bit for a couple months, and I got fourth place. So technically, when people like ask me, I technically speaking, I'm like the fourth best female in the world. Um,
Okay.
in FIFA, if we're if we're counting like the ECL sample, because ECL are really like the only people that host competitive the esports competitive scene for women in FIFA.
Mhm.
So I would say, yeah, I would say I'm like the fourth and third in terms of PS5 because we did have I think we had some players on the PS4, and I know like the FIFA competitive scene is mostly PS5. So I would say fourth in like PlayStation, but third in PS5.
Got it. And then how many
Yeah.
participants are there in those tournaments?
Um, I think this last one, it's interesting because we usually have 30, and then this last one we had a little more. I think we had about like 50 or 60.
Okay.
So and it's girls all over the world pretty much. I placed the highest in terms of North America, which is great.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I think the winner was European, if I'm not mistaken. The finalists and the winner were or European. Um, so yeah. Yeah, 60, around 60, and it's great to see because the more they do these tournaments, the more girls we get interested in
Mm-hmm.
the esports and the competitive scene of FIFA. So
Yeah.
it's always good to see.
So who is the best female player right now?
That's a tough question because so the lady that won, I think her name was Anta. I'm not sure the full name, but
Mm-hmm.
Anta something. Um, and I know she streams FIFA like more casually. She's not into like FGS. Are you familiar with FGS?
Yeah, the qualifiers for the pros.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I would like personally consider. Like for me, that's what I want to move into for next year. I want to be
Okay.
the third female to make it there because I know there's only two girls that have made it there. I think it's I know someone made it. I don't remember her name, but I know Fabienne. If you're familiar with her, I think she's a
Okay.
German,
Okay.
German or Dutch. I'm not sure, but she's
Mm-hmm.
considered. She not only did she qualify to FGS, but she's won games in FGS too.
Wow.
Um, so that's where I want to be currently.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how they're going to measure the competitiveness of FIFA next year because this year it's rivals, right? Like the higher you place in the elite division,
Right.
like if you get like top 100 or whatever, and then based on your region, you can go into FGS
Mm-hmm.
qualifiers. So next year it might be weekend league or rivals or a mixture of both, or there might be uh, like a third way. Maybe like they introduce a new platform within like Ultimate Team, like a new mode within Ultimate Team that is specific to FGS. Um, but yeah, that's like one of my goals for next FIFA is to ideally, I mean, the achievement I want to get is to be the best female player in the world in FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, like we got to take steps. So now, like I struggled in a couple tournaments. Then last one I got fourth, and then my next goal is to be able to make FGS qualifiers and be the third female to do so.
So in the tournaments that you got third and fourth, who actually won them?
So the last one, the lady named Anta that I was telling you about, she
Mm-hmm.
won them.
Okay.
Um, Second place, I'm not 100% sure, so I apologize for that. I'm not sure the lady's name that got second place. But for third place, I played the third place game against Fabienne, who was
Mm-hmm.
considered to be the best female in the world. And she beat me. I believe it was 2-1. Yeah,
Okay.
2-1. So we did home and away. So it's a very very close game.
Uh-huh.
So it was 2-1. She got third place. We were both on PS5, and so we had one finalist out on PS4, and then three of us were on PS5.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
for Anta, where's she from?
I think she's from Europe. I'm not sure if she might it might be either Switzerland or Sweden. It might not
Okay.
be those two, but I know she is European.
So Fabian has reached the qualifier. So
Yeah.
what was her SR and what was her weekend league?
Oh, I so for Weekend League, she's a professional player too. So
Yeah.
obviously, like it's weird in the competitive scene because some people say, well, if you're assigned to a team like a competitive or esports team, then you're considered a pro. And there are others who say, well, no, you have to qualify for FGS, like FIFA Global Series, to be considered
Mm-hmm.
a pro.
Yeah.
So and I think I'm not sure. I've heard she gets like 19 and 1, 20 no's. So she's definitely uh, she definitely does great in weekend league.
Oh
But the
wow.
thing is,
Okay.
like the
Mm-hmm.
weekend league this year does not really count for FGS.
Right.
So it's only for wherever she is in rivals, which I'm not exactly sure where she is in rivals. My
Got it.
assumption is pretty high because there's a lot of European players too
Yeah,
that
I
play
mean
FIFA.
if she
Yeah,
qualified, she has to be over 2000 skill rating.
yeah,
Yeah,
hmm
for sure. Which is pretty impressive.
hmm
19 and 0, 20 and 0, rank 1 and getting
yeah,
over 2000. Cuz if you're hitting that, I mean, yeah, essentially you're kind of at that pro level.
hmm yeah. What
Um
about you? Where do you usually place?
uh this whole FIFA like mostly rank 5, but
Mhm.
I hit rank 4 recently.
That's good.
So that's where I'm at right now. I did hit
Yeah.
elite, but I didn't go past that 1800 mark.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good still.
Yeah, what about yourself?
So it's interesting because I feel like in the tournaments, I like just turn it up a notch. Like
Okay.
I'm for some reason I do so well in the tournaments, and then I go into weekend league, and I've had like a lot of 14-6 or like I think my best one was 16-4.
Mhm.
But that was kind of like the outlier, right? Like that was the one I think one or two times that I got 16-4. Um, there was one week where I went 12-0, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna get 17 or 18 wins here if I keep going. And then I think it was a Tuesday,
Mhm.
and I just could not find games, so I I stopped playing. But in terms of like weekend league, I would say like majority it falls between like the 14 to 16 wins. I would
Yeah.
say
Yeah, that's pretty
with
good.
like the 13, 14 being like my lowest, and then like the 16 being the highest that I've gotten this year.
For casual players, what do you think is considered good for like rank for weekend league?
I see. It's interesting because I know a lot of like really good players. They just stop at 11 wins because they
Uh-huh.
know it's like
Right.
you get such, but sometimes and oftentimes too you get a much better rewards and like red picks and all that with just 11 wins. So I think it just depends. I would say I would say probably like aim for like 11 wins. I would say is the average.
Mhm.
Um, and again, maybe like try to. I think it'd be a good idea to like try to push yourself to get like one win extra, like every like 2 to 3 weeks.
Mhm.
So maybe like you would get like ten wins and 10 losses, and then you push yourself the next time to get 11, and then the
Mhm.
next time to get 12. Just kind of like show that consistent growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to another streamer and he was telling me like hitting the rank 4 mark is like comparable to like elite last year.
Hmm.
Would you say that's the same thing? Would you measure it the same way?
Um, That's interesting because obviously, like last year, we had a completely different system, and this year
Right.
everything is switched up. But I do think last year was easier to get a higher rank, and I myself did I did better with less experience in warm ups. But now I'm like I've found myself like I've played like 3 months of weekend league in a row, and I'm still kind of struggling. So I
Yeah.
think it I think it just depends because once you get like I think you get past 11 wins or 12 wins, and then you really get some hard games. And I
Right.
think I'm not sure how it was last year, but for this year it's much harder to break like 13, 14 wins and go up,
Mhm.
in my opinion, than it was last year. I feel like last year was a little easier to get the ones. And
Right.
there's a
So,
lot of free wins too. This
mhm.
FIFA.
Right.
So we have to count that, and I usually get like one one free win every week,
Mhm.
which is it's great.
Yeah, so like last year it was like you hit 23 out of 30. That's like elite 3.
Yeah,
So that's like a 77% win percentage. And
yeah,
then if you hit 14 out of 20, that's 70%. And then both
mm,
rewards you get like the tots pack. So
yeah.
that's why you could kind of see the comparison, I guess. You could kind
Mhm.
of consider yourself like an elite player of the old days if you hit rank 4. At
Yeah,
least that's the way I see it.
yeah. I think that reasoning makes sense, but I think like what I'm struggling with is because
Mhm.
I legitimately like I didn't play nearly as enough as I do this year, so I can't really like, give you an exact comparison. Like I can't agree or disagree
Mhm.
because I just didn't. I don't have that like ultimate team experience of last year. But it's interesting to see that they went from 30 games to 20 games. I don't know which one I prefer honestly.
Mhm.
Because technically we still have those qualifiers, so we are playing, 10, 10 to qualify and then 20 for the actual weekend league. I don't know. I think I prefer that a little more. For me personally, it just gives me time to get 10 games because it's hard to for me it's hard to get 30 games in a weekend.
Mhm.
But when I can do my qualifier sort of like throughout the week, and then I can focus on weekend league for Saturday and Sunday, or whenever people like to do it. I think it's a little easier. It's an easier workload.
Right.
Easier FIFA.
Yeah, I personally like the 20 games in weekend league.
Yeah,
I like the fact that I don't play as much games during the weekend.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's I'm on the same boat as well, and I think, like, one thing I've noticed with myself is, like, my performance cap is, like, 7 or 8 games. So I can, like, stay very focused for, like, 7 or 8 games, get some good results, and
Mm-hmm.
then after that, I just kind of, like, start losing. I don't know what it is, if it's focus or getting tired or, also getting a harder opponents, and by that time, I'm just, I don't have the stamina that I started with, the mental stamina that I started with. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, 20 games is becomes even more important because I know like that my performance get worse after the 7 or 8 game mark.
Got it. Um, yeah, I feel like the weekend league games that you play in this FIFA are definitely sweatier than the 30 games. I don't know what your
Oh
take on
yeah.
that is.
Oh yeah, I got my excuse my French. I got my ass beat during the
Mm-hmm.
some of the team of the season weekends because everyone was sweating and everyone had like the best possible teams. And every time I would legitimately struggle. I would struggle to get my like my team of the season pack, and I think there were weeks where I didn't get it right. Like I'd get to 13 wins, and I would struggle to get 14. And
Mm-hmm.
these were like what I would say during team of the season were my worst finishes.
Mm-hmm.
I think like kind of like after team of the season, before team of the season is when I was able to get like the 14 to 16 range. And now and during team of the season, it was really hard to break. I could not get 14 every week. So I definitely agree with you on that. It's the sweatiest
Right.
during.
Yeah, I had that feeling too. Like once Tots came out, it just got a lot more sweatier. It was
Yeah.
really tough. Yeah.
Mhm.
But for me it was kind of the opposite. I kind of performed better during
Oh,
those
really?
times for whatever reason. I think it could be just me getting better at the game as it was
Mhm.
going on, but yeah. I did end up like hitting like rank 4 like a couple weeks ago, so I don't know what to attribute that to. I
Mhm.
mean,
I mean, it could be a combination of everything. Like
right.
you've gotten better at the game, and I would say that's like one of the main reasons for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Fubu asked earlier in the chat,
Yeah.
like, how do guys react when they lose to you and they find out you're female?
That's interesting. It's interesting because sometimes I host like tournaments like on my own channel for just my viewers, and
Hmm.
most of my viewers are male. Occasionally, we have like a couple of female players, but it's also mostly me against my community.
Hmm.
And whenever my community plays me, it's like they try even harder.
Hmm.
Um, and again, it's not always because I'm a girl and they're playing against a girl, but it could just be that they're playing against like the hoster of the tournament, the streamer. So it's a lot of banter when I'm playing like against like guys from my community, or like my male friends, or whatever it is. And I don't know. I think in terms of like weekend league, I've gotten like a couple like toxic messages. Like one
Hmm.
time, I remember, I think it was a game that I lost in penalties, and the guy messaged me, and he commented. Actually, he did not message me on PSN, right? He went out of his way to comment on one of my YouTube videos,
Hmm.
and he said something along the lines of, "This is what you deserve, you toxic 352 rat," or something like that. Because I love 352, and I just
Uh-huh.
I just found it hilarious. And I mean, it's a good thing that he didn't comment about like my gender, like, or like nothing sexist, but it was interesting, right? Because I think there's still like those common denominators of like people are like talking to you if you use like a certain formation or a certain
Hmm.
play style or
Right.
a certain player. But yeah, I think yeah, like the occasional like get back to the kitchen on stream or something like that, but
I
nothing
see.
nothing yeah, nothing too crazy. I wouldn't say.
When you play on Ultimate Team, do you put your like TTV name on there?
Yeah, yeah,
You
it's
do.
usually
Okay.
my yeah, it's usually my like my team name, my squad name.
Okay.
Um but yeah, like I said, I've gotten like literally one hate message all year. Is the one I mentioned, and I feel like it was the most extreme because they went out of their way to find me external of
Hmm.
FIFA, external of PlayStation. But other than that, no, I've had like a couple players even like message me, say GG. Sometimes when I would like be playing and I'd be
Yeah.
live, they would just, like say, "Hey, I just played you. It was me. And it was a good game." I'd be like, "Yeah, good game."
Mm-hmm.
So no, 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 I wouldn't say. I think people people are relatively polite. I would say I haven't really had too many issues in terms other than like just a couple messages here and there. But
Yeah, I mean, if you're going 14-6 in weekend league, you're beating a lot of guys.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, which is, I mean, honestly, that's really good. Just in general, like I consider if you're hitting ring 4, you considered like a pretty good FIFA player, at least in my
yeah.
eyes. What about
Yeah, well,
SR? How what's your highest SR that you hit?
so interesting thing is I decided like not to focus on rivals this year. And especially like after I started, like I said, like in April after, getting my ass kicked in a couple times in the tournament and just like seeing how like competitive these girls were, I was like, okay, well, I just have to focus on weekend league and I have to play every weekend, get the 30 games, including the qualifiers. And so that's what I focused on for 2 months, 2 months and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I literally never played. Like I would remember, I think my highest was D1, so I
Mm-hmm.
never hit elite. I don't know. I think it might have been possible to hit elite this year for me. Um, I don't know where like players in like the 14 to 16 wins ish range usually fall on rivals, but
Mm-hmm.
for me, yeah, I almost never. I used rivals as a platform to like kind of practice my like if I get a new player or if I put like a new tactic on my player, or like a new formation or anything like that. I would go into rivals and practice it. So I know I almost never like took it seriously. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because I don't know. I think as I said, like my highest was D1.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wonder how it would have been if I played like rivals all year. Would I have been able to maybe like get like closer to FGS or something like that? Because I do think that like rivals is harder than weekend league because in weekend league you kind of play like you know from like D10 to D1, right? Like it can range from anywhere. But in rivals, especially if you're like in like D2, D1 or elites, you're consistently playing against like people who are like at like similar to your level.
Mm-hmm.
So just like it goes down to like the little details, and I think like potentially that maybe could have been a really good experience, especially for me because I would have been able to like consistently like in and out play against someone who is at my level, worse than me or better than me
Yeah.
by a little bit. But I don't know. I'd like to say I would be like hopefully close to elite if I did stay consistent with it, but I would say like D1. D1 is what I would say because I never like really played played rivals that much.
Yeah, I feel like you could hit elite. You could get there.
Mm.
It's if you're hitting rank 4 in weekend league, I feel like you could definitely hit elite for sure. I mean, even a guy
Mhm.
like me that was rank 5, I happen to hit elite. Even though
Mm.
I didn't get past the 1800 thresh mark,
Mm.
like I hit it, so I'm confident
Mm.
you would hit it too.
How was elite for you? How
Oh
were
my
the games
gosh,
like?
it was so sweaty. I think it was
Oh,
sweatier than
was
weekend league. It was so bad. Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
because I kept losing, and my
yeah.
SR just kept dropping. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it was really tough. I only got to elite for one season, and then once I hit elite, I was like, I didn't see the point in me staying in elite other than
Mhm.
rewards. But since then, I haven't really played much rivals. Like I'm not even going for the 4-8 wins for rewards.
Mm. Yeah, usually I don't really do those. I wanted to because I heard something about how like elite rewards give you like a red pick, I
Right.
think.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's worth it. All the stress of rivals. I don't know if it'll be worth it.
Yeah, yeah, and for me, like at this point of FIFA, I don't feel the need to grind that
Right.
much, especially on rivals. Like all I'm really doing is like some SBCs, qualifiers and weekend league. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because even, like, for me, I haven't played Weekend League in a couple weeks. I feel like
Mhm.
I've taken I've taken a break after, like, kind of like the team of the season,
Yeah.
um, stuff, and then I played it a couple weeks after team of the season, red picks, and then now I've been on a break for 2 weeks now.
Okay.
Mostly I actually I haven't touched, like, Ultimate Team at all in a couple weeks too.
But you have to get back into it, right? Because you gotta
I have
complete.
to. I
Okay.
have to, exactly, because I have a, I mean, it might be delayed a little bit. We don't have, like, an exact time, but
Okay.
there will be another tournament.
Okay.
There will be.
Got it. Who do you have?
Yeah.
Do you know who you have in your team right now from the top of your head?
In my team. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So I have, it's a little, I would say it's a little outdated. Um, I would say maybe it's, like, a month behind because I haven't been playing as much since I finished my tournament. But I have, team of the season Courtois. I play a 5-3-1-2, which switches to a 3-5-2 in game.
Mhm.
So I have Courtois, team of the season Courtois, and then I have team of the season Alaba and Militao on the left side.
Mhm.
And then I have the 91 Chiellini. I think it's a flashback Chiellini. It might be end of
And
an era
Evera.
Chiellini.
Mhm.
Yeah, end of an era Chiellini. And then I have team of the season Quadrado, as a right back.
Mhm.
And then the left back, I have team of the season Tio, which was my best red pick, which I was
Mhm.
very, very glad that I got.
Yeah.
Um, and then my CMs are a little outdated. I think it might be flashback Kessie, the 93 Kessie. I'm not sure what kind of card it is. It might be a
Flashback.
flashback.
Okay.
Yeah, flashback. And then I have team of the season Tonali as the other CM.
Mhm.
Um, Let me see, who else do I have? I have so my camp. It's interesting because I have the 93 birthday Dybala as one of my strikers,
Mhm.
and then Vlahovic, team of the season Vlahovic as the other
Okay.
striker because I kind of like having like one a little taller, more physical striker,
Yeah.
and then another smaller one, and then I have the end of era Insigne as a cam.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So it's kinda like when it switches to 3-5-2, I
Uh-huh.
have, Courtois, Militao, Alaba, Chiellini, and then I have Theo and Quadrado on my as my wide mids.
Yeah.
Um, I love having wide mids that can defend,
Mhm.
because I have them on comeback on defense and stay wide and all
Got
that
it.
good stuff. And then Kessie, Tonali in the middle, and then Insigne, on a good day, he will not get, pushed around because he always gets pushed around for some reason.
Mhm.
Um and then I have Dybala, Vlahovic.
Got it. And who are your super
Yeah.
subs?
My super subs. Ooh, I have. So funny thing is, I for the longest time I thought I was gonna go into the tournament with a Bundesliga team,
Mhm.
and then I got Theo and I got Quadrado and I saw that Chiellini card and I was like, okay, well I have to like switch it around. I have to switch it
Yeah.
around. I can't be using team of the season Lewandowski inverts because they're just not good.
Mhm.
And so my super sub, I got that Traore card, the new one. So
Okay. The
the
shapeshifter.
I don't know if I think it was yes, yeah, a
Okay.
shapeshifter. So I got that. It's untradeable, but that's usually my striker sub.
Okay.
Um, and then I also have team of the season Sun. In case sometimes
Oh, okay.
this I think I put one or the other in because I usually take out my Insigne for that.
Mhm.
So I kind of like still have Dybala, which is like the smaller, more agile player, and then like the other taller striker. So usually like my attacking super subs are um Traore, Son, and then I usually end up taking one of my wide mids out as well. Usually it's Quadrado because I play a lot on Quadrado side because of the 5-star skills.
Mhm.
And I end up putting Deulofeu in, the 92 Deulofeu. It might be
Okay.
91. I think it's 92 Deulofeu, but he has the pace and he has the 5-star skill, so that's what I usually go with.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good team. I like that
Yeah.
team.
It's a little outdated though. Like I feel like Dybala's outdated by now. And the 93 Dybala I would say is outdated.
Mhm.
And maybe Kessie is he does great for me, right? But I can't help and look at the stats and look at, some of those like the shapeshifter cards that have been coming out. Um And I can't help it but think that he's a little outdated too.
So if you wanted to upgrade those cards, who would you want to get
Mm.
next?
So I've had my eye on that flashback Spinazzola.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he'd be a really good replacement for Kessie. I know he has a pace. I don't know I don't know how they differ in terms of like defending and stuff like that. But that's like one of the cards that I'd want to at least try and give it a try. Um and then I've also been looking into that Al Sharawi, the flashback Al Sharawi.
Mm.
I feel like he would be a better cam for me instead of Insignia. I feel like he would be good. So these two guys, I think these two guys I want to get in. And then obviously I would like to eventually upgrade my team to my my foot birthday card Dybala to team of the season Dybala, but I don't know. I think he's a little over. He's too expensive still.
Isn't
Last time he was
the
like 3 million.
Oh wow. Well, is the Tots one have a 5-star skill move for Dybala?
Yeah,
The
so
Tots?
the foot
Yeah.
birthday one has 5-star weak foot and 4-star skill moves. The other one is flipped,
Oh.
so it has 5-star
Oh, I
skill moves
see.
and 4-star weak foot. Yeah.
Got it. Oh,
Yeah, isn't
okay.
it personally, what I do is I do, like, a lot of skill moves with my wingers and my
Mm-hmm.
cam, so that's why I have, like, Insigne as a 5-star and then Quadrado. So I don't know, like, that's the thing for me, like, well, I basically, my Dybala makes everything with his left foot, like, he never
Mm-hmm.
misses anything with his left foot. So I don't know if it would be, like, worth the trade of paying a little more for, like, slightly better stats, but I would lose that 5-star weak foot.
Mm. Got it. How much coins do you have right now?
I think it's, like, 800K.
800K. Okay.
Yeah.
S-
So I would be able to like maybe I would definitely be able to get like a El Shaarawy Spinazzola if I wanted to, but
mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can get that Dybala too. I don't think I can. He's probably around like 1 million still.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah. I mean, that's a really good team, and I'm sure you'll get some like upgrades, get those cards before the tournament, right?
I think I would definitely need to do that, yeah.
Do you guys have
Because
like a
I think
team requirement for the tournament, or
no,
is it okay?
I think it's a max of like 2 loan. No, sorry, no loans, no loans. It's a max of 2 icons, not including the keeper.
Okay.
But I think at this point, icons are unusable, honestly, unless you have like R9 or something, Pele.
Mm-hmm.
But
Got it. So I do want to
yeah,
ask you about pro clubs, because you do stream pro
yeah,
clubs with your viewers, right?
I
So
do. Yeah,
yeah, how are those streams, and how has it been playing pro clubs with just like, viewers? I don't know if you play with like your
yeah,
same core, or you invite like every viewer that just comes on through.
yeah. So for pro clubs, it's a chill time. Is I think it's like one of the best like ways for me to kind of like give back to my community and have them like play together and play with me. So we usually like host pro clubs lobbies, like open pro clubs lobbies where anyone can play as long as they're on the PS4 version of the game. And yeah, it's a fun time. I think they just, they drop in the chat, add me on PSN, and we get them in the club um, as long as I have space for them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sometimes I think a couple months ago we used to do this thing called like red versus blue, and where we would like split into two teams to get as many players in, and we play against each other.
Mm-hmm.
But as of lately, we were sticking to one team, so
Okay.
just 11 players. Yeah,
Got it. And what do you usually
yeah.
play? What do you like playing in pro
I
clubs?
I usually play cam. I actually play pro clubs competitively as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not like just like divisions like in the
Mm-hmm.
FIFA or like with my viewers, but I manage my own team. We play in like a league called ACL, which is the most competitive pro clubs league in North America.
Okay. And
Yeah,
is your season over for the ACL?
no, it just started.
It just started.
Yeah, it just started a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
Okay. Jay in the chat is asking what your socials are.
my socials. Everything it should be just at Ggskfifa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jay in the chat he actually competed in the qualifiers.
Oh, FGS.
Yes, in NA.
That's great.
Yeah.
How did you do it, Jay?
he he got eliminated in the Swiss round.
Oh,
So he
that's
didn't
a
make it into single elimination. He was really close. He
mm.
was like one win away, but yeah, give him a
That's
shout out.
amazing. I mean, making FGS in itself is a very, very, very big accomplishment. I would consider Jay a professional FIFA player for
I would too. He
making FGS.
actually
Yeah.
he actually kind of coaches me on the side.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, he's the one that got me to rank 4, so I give him a lot of credit.
That is awesome. That's awesome. I love to hear like the coaching stories. 'Cause I
Yeah.
know my coach personally,
Hmm.
he really helped me, like up my level, and he helped me get like, where I am today.
Yeah, for sure. Cause I had like Jay this year. He's like been helping me on the side, and then last year I paid for a coach too,
Mhm.
and having them really helps a lot. They're like
Yeah.
another eye that could assess your gameplay and you know give you good feedback,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah,
helped
definitely.
my yeah it's helped my gameplay a lot.
Yeah, I cannot like undermine how how much it changed, like especially my mentality. Like I feel like it was less about the gameplay and more about my mentality.
Okay,
Like now I'm
got it.
almost like the way I do it is like I'm not allowed to show any emotion during the game. Like if a pass does not go my way, I cannot even think about it. If I think about it, then the next time I get the pass with that player, and in the back of my mind is like, oh my gosh, he messed up a pass right before. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like it rolls into like mental issues. Um,
Mhm.
so I
Right.
think I think that's like one of the hardest things, honestly, is just like the mental aspect of
Right.
competitive FIFA, and not necessarily the gameplay.
Mhm. Yeah. Right. Jay asks, "How can we join your pro clubs?"
Oh, if you're talking about like the lobbies with viewers, Jed, then you can just hop on when I'm streaming, and you can add me on PlayStation if you'd like, and you can just literally just join during the open lobbies.
And then for your actual team that you compete with, you guys already have like a full 11.
We do, yeah. We have a roster of like 16 people. We have like
Oh wow. Okay.
starters, rotational players, backup, stuff like that. That team is a lot more competitive.
Right.
Technically speaking, we are like the top 60 teams in North America in pro clubs.
Oh wow. You guys are like
Um,
ranked on the leaderboard?
no, no.
Oh, okay.
So basically, the FIFA leaderboard doesn't mean anything, right? It's just
Mhm.
basically like for pro clubs at least.
Mhm.
It's just depending on like the more games you play in pro clubs, because you see like some of these teams are like D2, D3, but they've played a lot of games. Um, so FIFA doesn't have a system for competitive pro clubs. And that's why like a lot of these organizations have gone out of their way to actually create 11v11 only like region-based competitive pro club matches.
So for this ACL league in the season that's coming up, how many teams are there and does it work like, like win, loss, draw, points system?
Yeah. Yeah, so the way it is they have 3 divisions. They have division ACL division 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And then 1, 2, and 3, each of them have west and east. So if you're in the west coast, you can do the west. If you're in the east coast, you can do the east. Um and sometimes, like for example, the one I'm playing in right now, we started in D3.
Mhm.
It's a paid one too. You have to like pay to enter. There's a
Okay.
fee. But basically, we played D3 last season. 3 or 4 months ago, we got promoted. Actually, we finished top 5.
Mhm.
We got promoted. And then right now in D2, there was so many teams that were interested that they made two separate ACL D2s. So right now we are in ACL D2 East A, and there's another one called ACL D2 East B.
Mhm.
There's like I think it's like a total of 30 teams or so. In my division, there's 15 teams
Okay.
ish. Yeah,
Got it. So
yeah.
the goal
And
is to
D1
uh
D1 is very very competitive, very competitive.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So do you guys feel confident that you'll win Div 2 and
I don't
promote?
think for this season. I think so ACL is very 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 competitive. D3 was very easy.
Mhm.
D2 is a whole nother animal. It's everyone is playing for to qualify. The way they do it is playoffs, kind of
Mhm.
like an MLS system. So it's not really about where you're finishing, as long as it's top eights. If you get top eights, you go into the playoffs, and the playoff
Oh,
finalists or the playoff winners are the ones that get promoted
got it.
to
Okay.
to the higher division.
Yeah.
So and this is going to be even harder for us because there's two, right? There's two ACL D2s. So it's
Mhm.
probably going to be like the eight players, the eight playoffs from A, and then the eight playoffs from B. And then my guess is they're going to take the winner of A against the winner of B, and only one is, or one or two are going to get to go to D1. But
Mhm.
it's very competitive right now. We are personally struggling. I think we are in 10th or 11th place right now, but we're like I think we're from 1 to 4 points away from playoffs, which is eighth
Okay.
place. So it's, it's, as long as as long as we finish in top eight, we can make playoffs, and that's when we can actually make D1. But it's very rare for a team that just started 4 months ago
Mhm.
to get promoted to D2 and then get promoted to D1 right away. So a lot of the teams, they stay in D2 for a few seasons.
Yeah.
And then once you get used to it, you get more competitive experience, then you can hopefully get into D1.
Right. How many more games do you have left in this season?
I think it ends August, in the beginning of August, I believe. I
Okay.
think like the first or second week of August it ends.
Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
so and we play like games on every Tuesdays and Thursdays
Uh-huh.
against four different teams. So two on Tuesday and then two on Thursday. Um, yeah, and then I believe it ends like either the first or the second week of August.
Mhm. Got it. Yeah, so I think the pro club scene, especially in the competitive scene, is pretty interesting.
Mm,
I've obviously gotten to know more about the ultimate team side with the FGS and all, and
mhm,
been watching like all the pros play. But the pro club scene is really interesting too because I know like my fellow FIFA players have competed in those. So it's
mhm.
kind of interesting to see like the emergence of it, and I'm kind of interested in see how where this goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's gonna be even, like, more important for next FIFA too, because it's gonna be crossplay, and we're
Mhm.
gonna get all the Xbox Pro Clubs players over to PlayStation. It's gonna be like this so many players, because I know on PlayStation, there's, like, 2 I believe it's 2 to 3 times more Pro Clubs players than Xbox.
Mhm.
So we already have a pretty big, like, Pro Clubs base on the PS5 and PS4. But I think, like, what kinda how Pro Clubs took a hit this year is because PS5 players could not play with PS4 players.
Right.
So, next year you're gonna merge those two together and you're gonna add Xbox into it. I'm not sure if PC is also gonna be crossplay, but if that is crossplay, then that's even better.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely, it's I just hope EA do something more like official with it, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Because like a lot of these, you know, the leagues that I play in right now, like the ACL, for example, it's like externally owned, right? Like it's not owned by EA. It's just like a bunch of, like, an organization, a bunch of people getting together, and creating an atmosphere where people can play
Right.
pro clubs at the highest level outside of, like, D1. But yeah, I think next year, if it is true that they can make that happen, like the crossplay between PS5, PS4, and Xbox, and maybe even add PC, it's gonna be huge
Mhm.
for pro clubs.
Yeah, for sure. I do see that like Ultimate Team would be it has been promoted more by EA, so which I get, it's more lucrative for them. But I would also like to see pro clubs, being backed up and, get some like a lot of competitive games on streams and all that.
Yeah, because I think for me, like, if I'm looking at it, because I don't know if you're familiar with NBA 2K. I was watching some of your past uh, podcasts, and you did
Mhm.
mention you played some basketball. So I don't know if you played basketball on the console too.
Yeah, the last one I played was 2K20.
Okay, 20. Okay, I think that
Yeah.
was mine too.
Okay.
But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because the career, like my career on NBA is huge, right? So there's no
Mm.
reason why like a similar how do you say it? Like a similar concept wouldn't be good for FIFA. It's just the fact
Mhm.
that they haven't put too much into it, and
Yeah.
like it's been more or less the same for the past 6 years or so. Um, so there's just so much. There's so much like there's so many things they can do with it, right? Like
Right.
you can host tournaments, you can host the whole esports teams. You have like you can do branding with the best pro clubs teams. Then you have like your individuals within a team too. So like you can work with like from a, like a content creator side of things. They can totally like work with separate people as like as in like a striker, goalkeeper, like the best. Here's the best goalkeeper in pro clubs, kind of like the similar things. That they do in Ultimate Team, where you have like teams that sign competitive players, like esports organizations signing competitive players and stuff like that. But I think there's just so much potential too. And I think if they just put in the effort
Mhm.
for it, it would be just as big as Ultimate Team, if not bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they had like some sort of E-World Cup just for pro clubs, that'd be
Yeah,
kind of cool. And have like
yeah, that'd be awesome.
qualifiers for itself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think actually, what I think one good idea would be so you know how like there's divisions now in pro clubs, like from D10 to D1, which
Mhm.
is relatively easy. Like even in D1, there's like barely any like good competition, and you rarely really see teams that have 11 players.
Mhm.
It's usually like 5, 6, 7. At least that from my experience. We sometimes play D1 for like practice or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
almost like all exclusively 11v11.
Mhm.
So I think if they can add maybe like an elite division, right? Like they do in Rivals,
Mhm.
because you have like D10 to D1, and then the elite is what gets you to the next level. So that like
Mhm.
if you do well in elite, that's how you can qualify for like FGS or something like the pro
Sure.
club's version of FGS, or some sort of division where the more players you have, the better.
Mhm.
If that makes sense, like maybe once you get to elite, you cannot play. Like the minimum players you would need is 8, which is a lot of those the competitive pro clubs league that are outside of FIFA do. You're required to have 8 players. You cannot play with less.
Mhm.
But obviously, it's so competitive. It's like a high level that everyone already has 11 players. Really, you don't
Yeah.
see 8 player team. But I think that'd be good because, like right now, I know I think it'd be a good idea to maybe up that player requirement. Like the higher you go, maybe in Division 4, then that's where you'd start to need 3 players to play.
Mhm.
And then once you get to elite, the higher you move up, maybe like the SR and elite. I think it'd be a good idea to up those requirements to kind of like give people an incentive to start playing with those bigger teams.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think elite division would be good for pro clubs because D1 is not competitive enough.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think that'd be a great idea to implement, especially for like competitive like pro clubs teams like yourself. And if they want to take it
Yeah.
to the next level and promote their own team, promote their own like content, I think that's a great way to go about it.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, there's just so much potential, as you said. Like, there's so
Right.
much promote room for promotion, and especially like some of those like teams, like at least like in the one that I play, just because there's so many people interested and there's like a fee to enter.
Mhm.
There's always like imagine what a regular organization can do, right? Because when you win D1 and stuff like that, I think when you win D2, there's compensation for it as well.
Mhm.
But there's no reason for like like a company like EA to not be able to do anything in terms of the competitive pro club scene.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a preference? Like, do you like Ultimate Team or Pro Clubs more?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because obviously, like my favorite game mode for like the past, since FIFA 14 has been pro clubs, and like
Okay.
I've been with my team, some of my team members since FIFA 14, so I've known them for a very long time.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and in that sense, obviously, you have your very close friends that you play with, and then it's more of like a team the cooperation, team spirit, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I think competitive wise, I prefer like FGS and to play like alone because I can
Okay.
I can control my mentality, I can control how I'm
Sure.
playing.
Yeah.
But pro clubs is heavily reliant on playing as a team. So
Right.
not every like if a player makes a mistake or if you make a mistake, then your team is going to suffer.
Mhm.
And it's I think it's easier to control in terms of competitive ranks, right? It's easier to control how I do in 1v1s as opposed to in pro clubs.
Right. Actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I do pro club streams as well. I try to do that
Mhm.
once a week, and I always enjoy those streams because it's very interactive, and I just get
Mhm.
random people coming in and they just want to play. And
Yeah.
because the way I set it up, it's like so chill. Like
Mhm.
I just let anybody in. Like as long as you follow, and we could fill you in any position. And it got for me too. Like I'm pretty flexible with my positioning. Like I could play anywhere, so I
Mhm.
let like my viewers pick their positions, and we just have a good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, that's like another really nice thing about pro clubs, right? It's like it's a time where you can just like chill with your viewers and your community and you can play with them.
Right.
Um And I don't you can't always do that with Ultimate Team, right? 'Cause
Mhm.
you can do, like, friendlies, versus, like, some of your viewers or, like, open their packs or something like that. But
Yeah.
I think for, like, playing with, like, multiple of your viewers at the same time is, like, it's a special I
Mhm.
think it's a special experience.
It really is. Yeah, and I always enjoy those times. It's always a lot of
Yeah,
fun. So,
yeah.
um
Yeah, Pro Clubs is fun.
it is. It really is. So it's been over an hour now. I do want to ask you
Alright.
one more question before I let you go, and I do
Yeah.
appreciate your time. I had a great time so far. So, um, what are your goals? I think you already mentioned like what you want to do, get into the pro scene, get into qualifiers, but do you have any other goals in terms of like creating content or competing, anything with FIFA or
Yeah,
stream?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, like, for me personally as a competitive FIFA player, Ultimate Team competitive FIFA player, as I said, I would love to be able to make FGS qualifiers next FIFA and actually be able to compete in them like consistently too. Um, so I wanna get competitive enough to where I'm making them and maybe hopefully win a few games in there too. So that's like for like ultimate team wise. Then like pro clubs wise, obviously I want to keep it up and keep like promoting pro clubs. And hopefully next year it'll blow up and all the pro clubs, all the people that have stayed with pro clubs for so long are going to be happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for like personally for pro clubs, I want to hopefully get closer to getting promoted to the highest levels of competitive
Mm-hmm.
in that environment as well because I'm a very competitive person. I don't like losing,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that would be great too. In terms of content creation, I think like one of my current goals that's been pretty much going on for like the last year or so is like making partner on Twitch.
Okay.
Because right now, like I've gotten a little closer to it. Like I've gotten to like the 60s for a couple months, but
Okay.
then it drops down, right? So like I find myself always like around like 30 to 60, somewhere in that range, depending on like how alive FIFA is.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, I think like streaming wise and content creation wise, I want to be able to like break that point of being a partner on Twitch. And then just also just in general make more content, right? Like I want to post more on YouTube. More on TikTok. I just like in general, like just posting more because I know I almost always do everything on Twitch and I kind of don't post in other areas as much as I should.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be yeah. I think like professionally as a competitive player, I want to push those boundaries of where I was this year and
Yeah.
keep going. And then as a content creator as well, I want to be able to hit partner and then also post more, grow more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are great goals to have. And I wish you the best in your journey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think we could wrap it up here. Again, where could people find you if they want to follow you on all platforms?
I'm at Ggskfifa and pretty much all platforms. But yeah,
Okay.
thank you by the way for having me. I had a blast
Oh yeah,
talking
I'm
with
glad.
you.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you
talking
for
about
coming.
FIFA.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a great
Yeah.
time too. And for those platforms, is it Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, all the same? TikTok?
Yeah. So I stream on Twitch obviously. I also have like a YouTube channel. Some occasionally I post videos. Then for like the socials, I have like Twitter, Instagram, and then yeah, I would say like my most two active content creator platforms would be like TikTok and Twitch. And then for socials, Instagram and Twitter.
Got it.
Yeah.
Jay in the chat said he followed you on Instagram and Twitch, so.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure to follow him back. Thank
Yeah,
you, Jay.
I'll leave the links in the description below so you guys could check her out and follow her. But again, thank you so much for coming through. And if you could stay a little bit after the live stream, that'd be great.
Yeah, I
Um,
would love to.
yeah, and for everybody else, thank you for coming through, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.